real estate and broadcast entrepreneur, Dr. David M. Anderson has been and continues to be a great voice to many. Dr. Anderson is the founder of Empowerment Incorporated, a media, real estate, and financial consulting firm. With his second installment of No More Jobs, join us in welcoming Dr. David M. Anderson.
Good afternoon. Oh man, this is an incredible scene right here. I'm gonna set this here just in case things don't go well. Technology, right? So listen, I came here today to talk to you guys about this concept of not having any more jobs. In 2011, the church put on an event called the Economic Empowerment Conference that was here, featured Pastor Paula White, T.D. Jakes, a number of other dynamic speakers. And I had the opportunity to speak about the concept of not having any more jobs. And that piece is on YouTube today. It's the most viewed talk that I have on YouTube. It's over 37,000 views collectively on YouTube. And the title is No More Jobs. So when Boyd called and said, hey man, I need you to speak at this conference, we said, well, why don't we expound on No More Jobs Part 2. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go through as fast as I can. I'm gonna move pretty quickly through some slides on what I think is necessary to survive in this economy that we're in right now. I'm not knocking you if you have a job, but it is time that we understand multiple streams of income and how to invest. There is a way to invest. A lady asked last night, how do I invest? How do I go about investing? How do I multiply my money? I'm a great saver, but how do I multiply my money? And so we're gonna go through as quick as possible. Please take copious notes. You might wanna pull out your iPhones and put them on record. When I'm gonna go through some slides, I got 68 slides. I'm gonna try to get that done in 30 minutes on how we can create and generate additional income. This is serious business. If your phone is on, I'm gonna admonish you to turn it off. Nobody's calling you right now about anything that's more important than what we're getting ready to go over. The Second Machine Age is a book that's written on Amazon that I think you should download. It talks specifically about this notion that 2/3 of the working current job market is going to be cut out. 2/3 of the current job market is going to be cut out due to artificial intelligence. This book describes exactly what's going to happen in the Second Machine Age. It's on Amazon. It's $15 if you're interested in this. The government knows this, and so the government is actually putting together subsidies to cover the loss, to mitigate the loss for those jobs that are in the market. So what I'm getting ready to talk to you about is serious business. We must develop multiple streams of income, and we must invest. You could be super entrepreneur, or you could just go to the 9 to 5 every day. Either one is cool, but you have to invest. You can't, there's no option on that. The other issue is that we're not reading enough as black folks. I know in generational wealth, or Generation 1, the search for black wealth, I made a joke. I said Negroes don't read, and I got a whole bunch of flack about that statement. But I think if I could change that statement, I would say we need to read more. There's not enough books that we're reading. So I put together a list of the 15 most influential books that transformed the trajectory of my entrepreneurial career. Currently, we're managing $10 million in real estate assets right now here in Atlanta. And I did that from reading this one book called Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki, all right? And in another book that he wrote called The Cash Flow Quadrant, he talks very specifically about his first transaction in chapter 2 being a tax lien. That's a whole nother conversation. But when I saw that he spoke specifically about real estate tax lien certificates, I decided to jump into that and move on that notion. And 11 years later, here we are. The Dictionary of Real Estate Terms by John Dowles, very important piece. This gives you the language of money. Money is a language. When you want to talk about how to do deals and how to get deals done, if you don't understand the terminology from the bank, it's not going to happen for you. So you need to be very clear on real estate terms so that you can know how these things go down. The Dictionary of Finance and Investment Terms by James Dowlins, a very important book as it relates to real estate, because if you don't understand the finance game, your deals don't go through. And deals that are up above $250,000 require financing. So you're going to need to have knowledge about LTV, loan to value, being able to do asset-based loans and all this type of thing. These things are discussed in the Dictionary of Finance and Investment Terms. The teachers and professors at Georgia State School of Business don't give you this information because they're getting a check on the 1st and 15th. They're actually not practicing entrepreneurship. They're not filing K-1s. They're not paying the IRS $400,000 and $500,000 in taxes. They have no clue on how to get deals done. So this information is going to come from an entrepreneur that's actually getting it. The Black's Law Dictionary, most important book on the table, because this breaks down law. This breaks down the language of law and the etymology of law. And if you really want to get into it, the Georgia foreclosure law and finance law is a very hard book to find. The book cost me $1,100. Quiet title actions in Georgia, which is probably the most proficient thing to know as a real estate investor. Quieting titles means that if there's any encumbrance to title, we can remove it. That means if I owe Deutsche Bank $1 million on the other end, if I file a QTA, quiet title action, I can set that mortgage aside, and we've become very good at doing that. Quiet title is probably the most powerful thing that you can do. So right now, we're giving you game right now, strong game. I'm not telling you to come to no class that you can get $5,000 that you got to pay me on. I'm not here to sell you no side books or no merchandise. I'm dropping the game on what you need to do to be successful in Georgia. The no mortgage strategy, which is something that a lot of you might know my narrative that I live by. I don't believe in mortgages. I think that the mortgage is a joke. I think that the word mortifith, or actually I don't think, this is a fact, the word mortifith means death. The second word means engage. It's literally an engagement till death. Anybody that's on the road to building wealth must not have a mortgage. You cannot engage in a mortgage. You cannot have student loans. You cannot have car notes. You cannot have boat notes. If you really want to be successful, you have to make payroll. You can't do these things. These things are deaf to entrepreneurs. The other book that's important is called The Creature from Jekyll Island. This book gets specific into what happened right here in Georgia at the Sea Islands and how the IRS was created in 1913. And most black people have no knowledge of this. The Real Estate Tax Strategy from Joseph Starjic, which is a book that my father-in-law gave me, which showed me the power of being able to roll funds over from the market into something called a self-directed IRA, and then further that into a LLC to be able to utilize for any type of real estate transaction that we want to do. This can be done for business as well as for real estate. This is the most powerful book of this whole dissertation. Why? Because most of us are being told to go to the bank, go to Wells Fargo, go to Bank of America, go to Chase to go get your money. And the average African-American credit score right now is a 620. Ain't nobody putting their hand up in the air talking about fight the power for that. Al Sharpton ain't marching for that. Why am I saying that? Because economic injustice, if across the board, the average African-American credit score is a 620, SBA requires a 720 for you to get any kind of unsecured financing. Ain't nobody marching for that. That's economic injustice. So now we have in this book a layout on the whole self-directed IRA space, and Negroes ain't going there to the well to eat. We ain't going to self-directed IRAs to get money to fund our businesses. What kind of nonsense is this? It's because we don't know. Laptop millionaire, Mark Anastasi. Everybody's running around talking about, oh, I got this amount of people following me on YouTube. I got this amount of people on Instagram. Mark Anastasi makes $8 million a quarter from the internet on SEO, what they call search engine optimization. And this book lays out exactly how he did that. Becoming Your Own Bank. R. Nelson Nash, an old white man from Alabama, 85 years old, who states that nobody should ever put their money in a bank. Why is this? These banks are in the game of deposits. They take in deposits and they charge you fees. That's the game. In fact, in the Bible, it's called usury. And in the Torah, in Jewish benevolent law, it's a mandate that you don't charge your brother interest. But our entire banking system is based off of interest that they charge to infidels. And that's what they do to black people. Profits in the stock market, H.M. Gartley. Everybody's running around trading the Forex. Talking about put your money on the Forex. We're going to make $1 million. Ain't nobody making no $1 million on no Forex. Why? Because in this book, H.M. Gartley, where he breaks down the profits in the stock market, and by the way, H.M. Gartley was heavily influenced by an Italian named Fibonacci. Fibonacci created the Fibonacci sequence, which is a bunch of zeros and ones, binary codes that tell you when to go in and when to come out the market. Fibonacci was heavily influenced by an African named Imhotep. You might know him, father of medicine, father of science, and in my book, the father of modern day finance. because Imhotep heavily influenced Fibonacci. Fibonacci came up with the Fibonacci sequence on binary ones and zeros on how to enter and exit the market. And H.M. Gartley's entire thesis, entire basis of profits in the stock market is taken from Fibonacci, which was influenced by an African named Imhotep. What am I saying? I'm saying that white folks go in and out of the market as they choose while we are sleeping and take profits in the stock market. They wrote about it in this book. He talks about something called a harmonic scanner, and Negroes ain't even on the market. We don't even got money on the market right now to move, to participate on these movements that they're using African science on to benefit. But we paying interest every month. What is going on here? What's up with the education that we're getting? Why don't we know about this? Why don't we practice this? What's the issue going on here? Self-directed IRA handbook. This is a handbook. This handbook is $20 on the internet, on Amazon. You can order this book. It comes to your house, and it tells you millions of dollars are available through self-directed IRAs. We don't even know nothing about this. We go into Washington Mutual or Chase or Wells Fargo now, and we sitting there praying, oh, Jesus, I hope my loan goes through. I hope the bank's gonna give me this money so I can live my dream. Ain't no real black entrepreneur going to no depository bank to get any money from them. That's crazy. I could go on and on, but the most important book that you get from this as we continue down this road is something called The Power of Zero. David McKnight. This book transformed my entire investment career, not my entrepreneurial career, but my investment career. Why? Because these white folks have conferences called the Power of Zero Conference. And you know what they discuss? They talk about being in a 0% tax bracket. 0%. Now, for some of y'all that's in here that's making money, y'all owe the IRS, right? You might have a $500,000 bill. You might have a $100,000 bill. My bill right now is $250. So I'm very interested in the power of zero. I'm very interested for the 2019 schedule of figuring out how to have my tax bracket in the power of zero. Why isn't anybody talking about this to black people? How is it that Jeff Bezos at Amazon can make $11 billion and not pay no taxes? Come on, man. Who's talking to us about this? But Wesley Snipes going to jail, doing 3, 4, 5 years. They getting Lauryn Hill at the airport in JFK. She going down 2 years. They got Ron Isley on the internet singing Golden Lady in front of the warden. Tax evasion. But white folks is having conventions about the power of zero. Yo, man, we got to wake up. Current economic conditions in America today. It's a government shutdown, man. This dude signed a bill just to keep everything open for another 6 weeks. It's going to shut down again. How many people in here work for the government? How many black people of the 42 million black people in America work for the government? How is that going to affect them? You know what we're doing? My research department tells me if this bill doesn't get re-signed and it doesn't go into effect, my research department has showed me the amount of houses in Atlanta Metro that's going to be affected by that from blacks who work in government. We already know that their mortgages in the next 24 months is about to go in this direction, which means if their mortgage goes in the opposite direction, we right there at the first Tuesday of the month on the tax sale, buying their house for taxes and setting the mortgage aside, building wealth. These are the types of moves that we have to make. Now let me tell you about this. The S&P 500, this is the biggest joke in American history. And I'll just do this real quick. I know we short on time, but there's something called a correction that's coming. And if you know anything about the historical chart in America with the S&P 500, in 1901, it started about 2000. And then it continues in an upward trend till about 1979. Carter had an oil crisis and it drops. Or excuse me, before that oil crisis happens, in 1913 or so, there was the Great Depression. In the Great Depression, the S&P 500 only dropped 6,000 points. It continues to rise from 1913 to about 1979. It drops again, another 5,000 points on this oil crisis. It continues to go in an upward trend to 2000. In year 2000, the dot-com trend comes, right? It drops again, only 4,000 points. It continues to go up to 2009. And in 2009, the market crashed. Everybody went crazy. Real estate investors lost their shirt. It only dropped, class, 7,500 points. Currently, this thing is at 22,000. Which way is it going to go? It's the highest that it's ever been in U.S. history. The only way it can go is down. And when it drops, this time it drops 10,000 to 15,000 points. And most of y'all got your money at Vanguard, and you don't even know this, Vanguard's directly tied to the S&P 500. And oh, by the way, Vanguard Invest, the number one investment in the country right now, is the CCA. It stands for Corrections Corporation of America. So you're, in translation, you invested in the prison industrial complex to get that 8%. Don't even know it, and you got hella exposure because you're tied directly to the S&P 500, and this correction is coming, and the white folks know it. They ain't telling you about it. They ain't even telling y'all that there's insurance available for you that you can buy to wrap around your little nest egg so that when